We are continuing to follow the governor's race tonight. We know that Governor John Bel Edwards, the incumbent, and businessman Eddie Rispone will be going into a runoff. And you keep telling me, Dr. Silas Lee, you ain't seen nothing yet. So the race begins. The real race begins here. I have to ask you, though, how does he approach the next race here? Does he continue his same strategy as a Trump supporter, or does he pivot now and talk about some real issues and concrete ideas on policy?
Up till now, it's been a very thematic campaign, right? I'm a businessman, I'm a conservative, I'm an outsider, and that message seemed to resonate. But I think now people are going to be expecting to hear details. Exactly what do you want to do, all right? If you want to reduce sales taxes, how are you going to deal with the budget deficit? How are you going to deal with higher education? There's questions about early childhood education. And so hopefully we'll begin to hear more specifics from Mr. Rispone on some of his policy positions.
This is a different campaign, and certainly he must realize that the attention will be focused on him. Previously, you had two candidates who were Republicans. Now it's strictly Rispone and Edwards. He will have, the spotlight will be on him in terms of not just issues, but also how he will present himself to the electorate as a potential governor. So the dynamics will change. It will be more intense. There'll be greater focus on him. You didn't have that much focus on him this time. People talked about the commercials. They were asking, who is Eddie Rispone? Now that the attention will be focused on him, he will have to answer more questions and be open to more scrutiny.
Okay, something funny. I asked you not too long ago if we thought we'd see another visit from the president, and you said yes. Well, there's already a tweet from the president, and he says the governor of Louisiana, John Bel Edwards, has done a poor job. He's now in a runoff with the great Republican, Eddie Rispone. Thank you, Louisiana. 66% down, 47% after I explained what a bad job the governor was doing. So the president certainly taking some credit. I mean, but we knew he was going to. There was going to be a Republican runoff, but he's already, campaigning on behalf of Eddie Rispone. It's so funny because yesterday he wouldn't pick a candidate, but today Eddie Rispone is his guy.
Easy to do now.
Anyone who's a Republican. When I think about Eddie Rispone, I can't help but to think about President Trump. There's a lot of similarities. The parallels I see. Both are successful businessmen, both anti-establishment, never had any experience in politics, and now, joining in on the ranks of politics. So do you see a lot of similarities there?
First run for office.
As far as that goes, yeah, in terms of being the business outsider. But Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, who had very high negatives. And so there was kind of a distrust of both Trump and Clinton. You don't see that with John Bel Edwards. He doesn't have high negatives. He has relatively high approval rating and that people generally like him. So I think in that sense it's going to be different. He'll continue the themes about being the conservative outsider. But I think Silas is right. He's been able to push his media message. Now the media is going to be pushing back and scrutinizing him.
So if you're Governor John Bel Edwards right now, would you be concerned? Would you be worried?
Yes, absolutely. His campaign has to be concerned.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. 46%, I mean, clearly a commanding lead, but not quite the number they were hoping for. They were hoping to be closer to 47 or 47%, hoping to be closer to 48%. What does this mean for Governor Edwards?
Well, the other thing we have to keep in mind, turnout was lower than expected, especially with African-American voters, and in some areas of the state where John Bel did well in 2015. That's why I constantly reinforce every campaign is different. So you try to bring the genie back and let the genie out the bottle one more time. You can't catch us sometimes. So that's what we see right here. We have to recognize the differences in the campaign and how to pivot and adjust and make some strategies for those differences.
Okay, we're following some